Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Farmington Board of Education regular meeting for Monday, June 2nd, 2025. And ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Next on our agenda is item 3, we'll call it C, presentation of proclamation for Kathy C. Greeter, Superintendent. Obviously, this is Kathy's last meeting, official meeting as the superintendent of schools for the town of Farmington. It's a bittersweet evening, and we had a very nice night last Friday to celebrate Kathy's career in Farmington. I have tonight a proclamation to be read on behalf of the Board of Education to Kathy in recognition of her years of service to our town. So with that being said, I'll just get started. Whereas Farmington Board of Education's mission is to enable all students to achieve academic and personal excellence, exhibit persistent effort, and live as resourceful, inquiring, and contributing global citizens. And whereas students in the Farmington Public Schools effectively learn important academic content, demonstrate skills and achievement at high levels, and develop their individual talents and interests in an atmosphere that promotes belonging, respect, and lifelong learning. And whereas Kathleen C. Greeter has embodied the highest ideals of educational leadership throughout her 16-year tenure as the superintendent of the Farmington Public Schools, serving the students, families, faculty, staff, and the broader community with unwavering dedication, integrity, and a deep commitment to excellence. And whereas Kathleen C. Greeter has consistently been a champion of every student in the Farmington Public Schools and has nurtured a district committed to the belief that all students can excel when provided with caring classrooms, high-quality instruction, and meaningful learning experiences that honor their individual strengths, identities, and aspirations, fostering a sense of belonging and the confidence to lead their own learning. And whereas Kathleen C. Greeter has served as an exceptional and visionary leader who inspired the development and implementation of Farmington's foundational and future-oriented improvement documents, including the core beliefs, the framework for teaching and learning, and the vision of the global citizen, which, through aligned and intentional systems work, have driven continuous improvement by shaping district structures, instructional practices, and culture. As a result of this sustained and coherent focus, students are empowered to grow as self-aware individuals, self-directed learners, disciplined thinkers, engaged collaborators, and civic-minded contributors. And whereas Kathleen C. Greeter has been a transformational leader of adult learning throughout the Farmington Public Schools, cultivating a professional culture rooted in inquiry, reflection, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. Her leadership empowered educators and leaders across the district to also be learners, engaging in practices that support the emergence of new ideas while building coherence around the most promising and impactful approaches, always guided by a collective commitment to meet the needs of students now and into the future. And whereas Kathleen C. Greeter, during her tenure, was an excellent steward of all Farmington schools and also led the collaborative process to envision, plan, and bring to life a new Farmington High School, an inspiring state-of-the-art facility designed with community input and grounded in the district's vision of the global citizen. Through years of strategic leadership, Superintendent Greeter championed a school that reflects the district's commitment to deeper learning, innovation, and student well-being, with learning spaces intentionally designed to foster collaboration, creativity, reflection, independence, and joy. And whereas Kathleen C. Greeter was recognized as Connecticut Superintendent of the Year in 2020, reflecting her steadfast commitment to all students in Farmington and her deep belief in the power of public education to transform lives and strengthen communities. And throughout her active engagement in influential state and national organizations, including the Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents, the Connecticut Superintendents Network, Ed Leader 21, the Deeper Learning Districts, and as a mentor to aspiring superintendents, she has distinguished herself as an insightful learner, and respected leader whose voice, perspective, and vision have meaningfully shaped leadership development and driven large-scale educational improvement within Farmington and throughout the broader educational community. And whereas Kathleen C. Greeter has left a profound and lasting impact on generations of Farmington students through her compassionate leadership, consistent presence, and unwavering commitment to each learner's growth and success, admired not only for her strategic insight and dedication to excellence, but also for her genuine care. She's been a steady, encouraging presence in classrooms and at student events from early elementary through high school, fostering personal connections, celebrating student accomplishments, and creating a culture in which students feel seen, valued, and inspired to learn and lead. Now therefore, I, William Beckert, on behalf of the Farmington Board of Education and the Farmington community, hereby commend and celebrate the exceptional service of the contributions of Superintendent Kathleen C. Greeter, expressing our deepest gratitude for her steadfast commitment and selfless dedication to the children of Farmington. Be it further resolved that this proclamation presented on this June 2nd, 2025, be entered into the official record as a lasting tribute to a legacy that has been woven into the fabric of the Farmington Public Schools community and will continue to shape our schools, our students, and our future. Dated the 2nd day of June, 2025, at Farmington, Connecticut.
Wow. All of you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I want to also recognize Kim and Veronica and their assistance in helping to prepare this proclamation. They worked very hard
Yeah.
with us to get this done and done well. And it was very well stated, so thank you for your input on that, ladies. Very well done. I'm opening it up to the board for any comment. Don't feel like you have to.
I have to. I feel like I do. So Kathy, I was just thinking back, since Friday, you and I first met when I kind of stepped up my parental involvement in the school district by joining efforts to advocate for the school and the town budgets. And it was about 14 years ago, so pretty early on in your tenure here. And it was a challenging time for the schools and for the town, the community. But your optimism and your patience and tenacity and that environment just really caught my attention. You earned my trust and respect. I was, my children were young. I was early on in my experiences as a school parent. But I learned quite a lot by working with you, watching you work in those situations. And as an advocate, been a town council member, and now as a board member with you at the helm of the school district. It's been a really great experience because of your leadership. So it's been such a privilege to serve as a board member under your leadership, but I think even more so to have my 3 children benefit from this education that they've received, not quite done. Third one is still coming up through the high school. So that's really meant a lot to my husband and I know that the community is appreciative of all that you've just done for us. Your hard work, your dedication to the school district and the community in general is really quite remarkable. So again, I just feel so fortunate that my family, as well as the entire community, where we've chosen to set roots, and we've been here for about 28 years, that we've been the beneficiaries of your hard work and your dedication and your skill. It's really something. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to take a break, have some cupcakes, or do you want to keep going? It's up to you, man.
We could keep going. Could I say a few?
Of course.
Yes. I just want to take a moment to thank everyone. It was honestly such an honor to serve the children and families and community of Farmington. For those who had heard part of my story, I've had a really unique experience in Connecticut. I spent 16 years as a Hartford teacher, administrator, central office administrator. Then I went to Greenwich for a few years and I was deputy superintendent and then interim superintendent. And then Farmington called and said, would you consider being interviewed by the Board of Education here in Farmington? And the minute I met the Board of Education, I just knew that this was the place for me. They were so respectful when they spoke about educators and about how important it was that teachers get what they need in professional development and resources. And I just thought that, this is really the perfect place for me because I was always very focused on students at the center, but also teachers getting what they need to be the best they can be. And so I was thrilled to meet a Board of Education who understood that and had a long history of supporting superintendents. In 45 years, a little more, maybe 50, there's only been 3 superintendents in Farmington, and that's because our Board of Education works so closely with administrators and supports us. And through budget process or through whatever programmatic changes that need to be made. And it's not lost on me today that this last board meeting is celebrating that I'm officially superintendent. We're celebrating students because that makes my heart joyful, and that we're in this black box theater where we imagined a high school many, many years ago that was aligned to our vision of the global citizen, and we wanted to create spaces that were flexible, that created comfort for students, that gave flexibility for them to make good choices, and for our teachers, a state-of-the-art school that has all the resources they need to ensure that they're working with their students on deeper learning experiences that engage their heart, their minds, and their hands. So this is really special also to be in this place on this day. I want to give a special thank you to all of our administrators who are simply the best, and our extraordinary teachers and staff who get up every day and give everything they have to ensure that our students have the best education possible. And I want to really thank our Board of Education. They, led by Bill, and Bill and I have been together, him as a board member, me as superintendent, for the whole 16 years. Again, very unique for that to happen, but you've just made my time here so very special, and I have and will always treasure each moment with your children, with the teachers and staff and administrators here, and all of you, the Board of Education. It's just, been, as I said, the peak of my career, so thank you.
I know how much you like cupcakes.
I might sneak out for a cupcake.
Okay, next item on our agenda is item 5, approval of minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of May 12th, 2025, BOE regular meeting?
Motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
I just have one edit.
Sure.
The call to order was at 7:13 PM. I might have submitted the time.
Well, we did get started late.
Yeah.
Okay, with that revision, any other comments? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, next up, item 6, consideration of superintendent's report, item 6B.
So this is our summer learning programs report. Veronica will provide an overview and answer any questions you might have.
So go on to the next slide, actually.
Next one.
So this is a very high-level overview. The point of today's report is just to let you know that we have extended learning opportunities over the summer, and also various camps and other enrichment opportunities for the students in Farmington. This also shows you which schools they're at, so you have a sense of which schools will have these programs in them. And certainly in the fall, we do a much more extended report, thanking all the people who are involved in leading the summer school programming, but that happens in the first board meeting back in the fall. That's it.
So the next 2 reports, Continuing Education and Excel, are annual reports that we provide to our board and community with some highlights from the past year in mandated and enrichment programming for continuing ed, and Brenda Dolan is here to provide that information, and preschool and extended learning opportunities for our school-age students through Excel. Brian Zerio is here to present that report. Brenda.
So I want
evening staff, custodial staff at Farmington High School. They have always consistently provided the support that we need to run our classes, mandated and enrichment alike. And this year, they helped facilitate a smooth transition into this amazing new building after years of our program running primarily in the 900 wing. And so I just wanted to say Chantal and Clodian and the rest of the staff have just been amazing. It was also a transition year for the program. I stepped in after Lori Weyerbeck ran the program for many years, and I was fortunate to have some time with her to sort of learn everything, and it went very, very smoothly. And so thank all of you for the support that you've offered me through this year, and I look forward to continuing many more years with Farmington Public Schools. A couple of our bigger highlights. We keep expanding the youth enrichment program offerings. We are trying to continue building upon past successes, and we were able to increase enrollment in Math Olympiad, one of our most popular after-school programs, by 50% this year. We are currently running Gardening Club, and 15 of the 30 students were personally recruited from the choice program and are receiving 100% tuition assistance to participate. And our Lego and robotics, which has been a pillar of our program, traditionally offered in the evenings, we were able to move it, expand it to after school at all school locations. The mandated program is running well. We made some changes to the GED program at the beginning of the school year, and our lead GED teacher has done a phenomenal job. We have a record number of graduates this year. We had 14 of our 20 enrolled students that have currently completed, and we have 2 more that should be completing by the end of the month. Looking back through historic records, I was able to go back to 2017. The highest number previously was 4. So kudos to Lisa Tomasevich, our GED instructor, and her persistence and dedication to those students. One of the students was a former Farmington High School, should have been class of 2017, and he came back and he was eternally grateful. He wrote the nicest letter to Lisa, thanking her for the support, because it was something that he just was unsure he was ever going to be able to finish, but he made it, and he is headed to Tunxus in the fall. We have 4 new U.S. citizens in the Farmington Valley that came through our program this year. About 30% of our ESL students to date have gained at least 1 level of English proficiency. And I also would like to welcome Eric Wagman. He has been serving as our program facilitator this year, so I moved him into my former position. He is FHS class of 2017, and we are looking to bring him on full-time for the 25-26 school year.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, everybody. This is one of my favorite nights. I love watching all those awards. I'm going to take a little story here. Gina is unbelievable. She actually came in for her first interview ever, and she's also an employee of Farmington Public Schools. She works at Noah Wallace after school every day. And Andy Chen, I was joking with his parents, I'm going to take a little bit of credit for his award, just a very little bit, very little bit. I remember Andy, he was about this big walking through with his violin in one and his backpack on the other side. So it's always great. So the Extended Care and Learning Program had a really great year this year. 4 of our team members were honored by the Connecticut After School Network in the STEM area, and it was really great to see. We had preschool teachers, frontline staff, Amanda Michaud, who's the coordinator of the program, so it kind of, and we won 4 out of the 6, so we kind of swept. It was really great. So that goes to show like what kind of people we have working for us, and super proud of them, because none of this happens without my team. Another highlight of this year on the preschool side, collaborative preschool moved from a first come, first served model to a randomized model. This new approach created a fair and transparent process. Over the last couple of years, we've been hearing some small feedback and started growing, so we took that feedback and changed some great things, I think, for the positive. It's working really great. Numbers are still huge, though, on those wait lists. There's still about 156 families on that wait list. Right now, today, we did our 5th round, and we're on number 71. So there's definitely a need in this valley for early childhood. Another highlight for this year for the Excel program and Farmington Collaborative Preschool program was the number of employees holding college degrees. When I first started this, working here, I was working towards a bachelor's degree, and it's always one of those weird things when you're around friends who have specific jobs. You have a lawyer, a doctor. So it was kind of like, what do you do every day? And for the longest time, I joked around saying I made differences in children's lives. But we kind of coined it now as like, you're an after-school professional, and I'm starting to see that, like, people grow. So, and I'm starting to see, like, even the last 20 years since I've been doing this, institutions are now making that after-school degrees, which is really great. But I definitely want to say that number jumped, I think it jumped by like 5, and with higher education with master's degrees too. So I just wanted to point that out about my great team. Another really great event that we held at this beautiful space here this past March was our STEM Expo. We had about 350 attendees, and it showcased work from pre-K to grade 12. We had students from our program, their families doing projects, in-house programming that we did at our after-school programs. We teamed up with IAR to invite about 12 IAR 7th and 8th grade students to showcase what they're doing in STEM curriculum at their site. And we also had the robotics team that was here. So it was great to see, kind of had this great opportunity that we already have a platform, and worked with a bunch of people in this great district and made it happen. So that's a great highlight for us this year. Just wanted to put it up there. It's just kind of a change in the days. Excel awarded $22,000 in tuition assistance this year to families. That $22,000 represents 12 different families. And then the final highlight was the design and purchase of a playground for Westwoods to be installed mid-July. Love to take this time if anyone has any questions for me or comments.
Sure.
I actually just have a question about the collaborative preschool. So I did hear it went to a randomized model. I'm a parent in the zone of people who have kids that age. For those that don't know, prior, people that, whatever the timestamp was, like 8 a.m., people that were like 8 a.m. and 17 seconds weren't getting in because so many people were before them. I mean, it was like a matter of like clicking the button. So I do think that that is positive, although to see there's such a wait list. For my clarification, because I don't know, is there prioritization? So like if you have a sibling in, like is there any type of that prioritization?
There's no, we did at one point, but we got rid of that.
Okay, so it's truly now just a randomized model?
It is. And one of the hardest things to tell families was that within the 26-second mark, there was already 60 families. That was the hardest thing for me to stand.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it was just a hard thing to see unless you actually saw the timestamps. So that was one thing that we worked together with to kind of make a continuous improvement.
So really now the only thing it is the randomized model. Like, is there any, like if you teach in Farmington, do you get in or no? It's truly just randomized?
Yep, so we do have spots that's circling out, but we do keep that. And this year, we also randomized that list as well.
Okay.
So they had their own. So we only took 10 spots for
Gotcha, okay.
Farmington.
Yeah, that's just good to know because people will ask me and I don't know the answer, so now I do.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Brian, it's always great to see you. I've known you forever. I mean, both my children went through the Excel program when you started out as a counselor. To see what you've turned this program into, you have been making impact on children's lives. It's not just some little joking around thing. It's a real thing that you've done, and you should take tremendous pride in what you did and taking what was a sort of kind of like, well, we'll just do this thing, we'll give kids things to do, and really through your leadership and your initiative, you built this into a program that we know is the envy of the state of Connecticut, frankly, right? And that is really under your leadership and your charge. So on behalf of my kids, both one who's now graduated college and one who's got a little bit of way to go still, but and she's going to be an Excel, like a teacher like that, but before it's more of a full day thing. But anyway, thank you for all you've done on behalf of all the families of Farmington. I know how hard you work and your team works, so thank you.
And before I leave, I just want to say thank you, Kathy, for your support over the last 16 years. You've been a champion. Pushed me to get my degree. I don't know if I want to say push or gave me an ultimatum, but to get my master's degree, and I thank you for that, because I don't know if I would have without that. So thank you so much for everything.
I just want to say both to Brenda and to Brian, coming here 16 years ago, to have a program like Excel in district and not look to outside vendors for that was such a gift. And we've just work together to expand enrichment, include preschool, expand preschool, and you've just always been incredibly responsive. And, as families do have more tuition assistance needs, both of you have just been so good about understanding the needs of families when it comes to enrichment and before and after school care or preschool. So we just appreciate both of you so much. When I came from my last district, we were struggling in that district with continuing education. So coming here, it was thriving. We actually serve many communities within continuing education, not just Farmington. They continue to knock on our door for our assistance because it is such a well-run continuing education program. So just thank you to both of you. And, we're just so fortunate to have leaders like you in Farmington. It just makes our community better and really is responsive to our families. So thank you.
Wonderful night, everybody.
Thank you.
So from last meeting, there were some questions about transportation and getting an update. So we just wanted to kind of give everybody, kind of a status in there. There's a educational consultant researcher, his name's Michael Folan, back in 2001, came up with this concept of the implementation dip. So whenever you start something new, there's typically this little bit of a dip that happens, and then you kind of there's a decline in performance, dip in confidence, different things, and then eventually you kind of work your way through. The goal is whenever you have any type of change like this implementation dip is that you make that dip as shallow as possible before you get back onto the incline. Unfortunately, I say transportation this year, it was more like the Mariana Trench, probably as deep as you can go and before kind of getting ourselves out. So what I can say is that, I confidently can say that, we hit that trench right there and we're kind of working there. We're not nearly where we want to get to. We want to continue to improve. I think, Farmington has an exceptionally high standard, and we want to not only meet, we want to exceed that. And I think specialty wants to partner with us on that. I think there was a lot of things that were learned this year, a lot of pieces that go in there. What I can say, we've already had some conversations with Tim and Mike and Matt and myself, some goals for next year, really looking at, obviously just continuing to increase quality of service, but really, one area of focus that seems to have eluded specialty this year was really focusing on recruiting, retention of drivers, and kind of keeping that, because a lot of times when we had issues, it was this driver shortage was really kind of this area. So what are the steps that they're going to take to kind of do that? One tremendous thing that will help is they had a contract with a local district. They didn't bid for that district for this year, for whatever reasons. I'm not honestly sure. But the upside, hopefully for Farmington, is they'll have this fleet of drivers and vehicles that they'll be able to kind of disperse. So they're kind of won't be as spread so thin. So hopefully that would be one key piece in both for vehicles and such. One thing I can say definitively is once we get the final numbers, we'll have a better idea. But the overall financials, are significantly stronger than kind of what was contracted. They were able to do that through some efficiencies with some buses, but not to the point where we think it was stretched too thin, right? It was there where kind of looking at some of those pieces. So. And a secondary piece of that also is just in our gasoline line item, we're seeing significant savings in that. So some positive things to kind of build off of, but once again, not to, really want to kind of take, once we get to the end of the year, they do some summer transportation piece in there, but really working with Tim and Michael and making sure we focus on, like I said, those goals of just how do we improve the quality, how do we look at retention and training and recruitment of drivers. So happy to take any questions that anyone has.
James?
Not so much a question, but more of a statement. And I know, first of all, thank you to you, Matt, for kind of being the liaisons. Kathy, obviously, to specialty and everything that you guys have done to try to get this running as smoothly, and the fact that we've gotten through the school year is a testament to that work. On the flip side of that, I think it's a severe understatement to say that this was a very, very disappointing first year with specialty in this contract. I think Mike had said during the interview process, as well as when he came here 2 weeks into the school year, he said that his job is to deliver kids safely and on time. And I don't think either of those things were met throughout the course of the year. Here we are, we're still, persistent contact from members of the community, including my daughter, who gets on the IAR bus occasionally, right? I drive her to school because that's my choice, and I get 15 minutes of alone time with my daughter, so that's great. But the line has gotten excessively longer at IAR because I think everybody has kind of just said, given up, right? I've seen eye rolls. I've seen, I've given up. I've seen a lot of that from the members of our community. We responded to the members of the community by getting this new contract with a new vendor and extremely disappointed with their performance. So I think, unfortunately for them, they've got a really, really razor-thin margin to come into the school year prepared. None of this driver sorted stuff. They have zero excuses to start the school year next year like they did this year, or even close to what it is right now at this very moment. So I think it's just extremely disappointing, and I hope you can articulate that message to Mike and Tim, and they do not have a lot of leeway come this time next year.
No, that's extremely fair.
This side here, Erica, and I'll go back to you, Angela.
Okay, so and one, I want to say thank you, Matt, to both of you, and I think to the school, to the full school district, because I know it, based on observations, I think a lot of the staff, the personnel, whether it be principals or, they've been riding on buses as well, helping, trying to monitor certain situations and so forth. But I do agree with James, the level of disappointment, and if you all recall, I was one of those people that said, and I said this to Bill, I am hopeful for you. I am hopeful for the change, and so because I believe in multiple chances, but being here where we are this morning, my high schooler was late to school because we were waiting for the bus, and not just, I looked down the road and there's multiple kids waiting for the bus, and I just said, okay, well, and we've got a week and a half to go, 2 weeks to go, we're gonna make it, but concerns that I have, and I don't know, and maybe, and it's things that I've heard, and even from my own kids who have expressed overcrowding on buses, kids, and again, I don't, I don't know if it's true or not true, but I hear it enough, overcrowding on buses, kids sitting on, on the floor, multiple kids on a seat. That's a safety concern for me, and that's not acceptable. because again, it's making sure that our kids are safe is not one of the number one things. You know, buses being late throughout the year multiple times, and you know, whether you're a working parent and you have to leave your house to go to work, or you're a parent who has not necessarily working outside the home, but you're responsible in your home and you have a lot going on, you know, the fact that if the bus is late, it can totally derail a lot of your day and be late. And for somebody who drives to West Haven multiple times a week, that is really, really concerning sometimes, you know. So the multiple times that the bus is late. And then, you know, what I then started noticing, and I don't know, and I agree with James, I don't know if this is the case, and I think it was Andrea who asked this maybe last month. You know, when I have dropped off my son or my sons at school, I have noticed that the drop-off lane seems to be much more, you know, longer. And I don't know if it's because the parents are feeling burnt out, and they have chosen to say, I'm not going to rely on the bus anymore. I'm just going to go drop off. And that's a service that we all rely on, you know. And so if we're seeing a majority of, I don't know if there's a sort of, we can look prior and now, are we seeing more parents? Have we surveyed, or can we survey? Have we seen more parents who are just choosing to drop off their kids on a regular basis at school because there is not, the reliability isn't there? And then, you know, you talked about the goals for next year. And so a couple of things as part of those goals for next year. Agree with the recruitment and retention, right? Absolutely. Let's, you know, they've been with us for a year now. But what are some part of those additional things to add to the goals for the next coming school year is I want to make sure that if there's any testing on routes, that it gets done way before the school year begins. So I don't know if there's going to be any changes to bus routes or pickups or whatever, but all of those tests need to be done way before weeks before the
Table
school year.
stakes.
Yeah, before the school year begins. And then, you know, and then also how is it, what kind of another goal is what kind of communication over the summer will be provided to families so that they feel that they've been heard, because we have received not only verbal but written outreaches from the community. So how will they, you know, something be communicated back to them that they have been heard, and here's the goals that we've outlined, and here's the steps that we've tried to build confidence in our community. So, that's it.
Thanks, Erica. Angela.
You know, echoing a lot what James and Erica said, appreciate you and Matt and everyone else who's kind of like rallied behind this. I just feel, truthfully, this isn't our problem to solve, and I feel like you guys are spending a lot of time where it's appreciated, but this is like a $25 million contract that we have with a company, and for us to be spending this much of our resources trying to manage them seems crazy to me when there's simple things that I, as a parent, have written to them. I do not think buses' routes are optimized. I know that for a fact. My children were taken on I-84 numerous times out of East Farms, which is not the route that they should be taken, which you read my email, I'm sure. You know, the bus driver shortage is another just short fuse for me. Again, I was joking with people, but I think this is a simple economics equation here. There's drivers out there. They need to be compensated more than pay me $1,000 a day and I will drive the bus, or you can find people to drive the bus. I mean, specialty needs to dip into their profit then to fulfill their contract. Like, I think we're making excuses, and I think to Erica's point, I don't think we're actually getting better. I think there's burnout by the parents for having to follow up constantly. I mean, I feel the same way too. I mean, how many emails can you write about the same thing where you're finally just like, okay, I can't risk being late to this practice again. I'm just going to pick my child up. So I do think there needs to be some analysis done on, I'm sure there's somewhere that the schools have who arrives by bus and who doesn't. But I just think we need to hold specialty, and I don't know what that looks like. I mean, that could be a discussion, but is it having them at every meeting until it's resolved? Like, maybe that's it, asking them to come, because I almost feel like we're letting them off easy, and I don't want to say that because I know you are following up, so I don't want to minimize the work you're doing, because I do think you're doing the best you can, but I don't think you should have to do that. You know, finding drivers is not your job. It's a $25 million contract. They should be able to find drivers, and if that means dipping into their profit, that's what they need to do. So agree with everything that everyone said. I mean,
the more egregious things, again, are taking kids on highways that are clearly not part of routes. Multiple people in Avon texting me that Farmington buses are picking kids up at Roaring Brook School in Avon that say Farmington on them. I mean, it just seems like there's an inconsistency into what specialty is delivering to us. So I would love to see more accountability for them. And I don't know exactly what that looks like. I have ideas. But I think we owe it to the families to give them some type of answer, because I don't think we're being I don't think we're servicing the families and that it's getting better. I think people are just burnt out and just finding alternate solutions for their families. And the safety concerns are another just hot ticket item for me. I don't like the overcrowding on buses. That just doesn't make me feel good at all hearing those types of things. So, yeah, and again, I don't want to direct this towards you or Max. I think you guys are doing all you can, but somehow specialty has to step up. I mean, he was here earlier in the school year saying it would get better, and I don't know, I don't feel that.
Katie?
So I'm going to just touch on the safety aspect of this, because I no longer have children in the school district, but I live right outside of the middle school in East Farms. The traffic is ridiculous. We are paying a ton of money for people to be on the school buses. These kids need to get on the bus, but I am concerned about the overcrowding, hearing the stories, seeing the emails. It's unexcusable, number one. The roads being blocked, I have to go an absolute opposite direction to just get on 84 because you can't get down Wolf Pit one way or the other. Ridiculous. I even saw James, poor guy, spending 15 minutes. They're crossing, they blocked the street. It's terrible.
I didn't block.
You did not. And I'm worried about the teachers. They're delayed to get to school because they can't even park their cars in the school parking lot because of all the cars doing drop-off. Unexcusable. And what happened to when we did meet with them during negotiations? They talked about, they had this whole program where they've got drivers, on bench and blah, blah, blah. That's not seeing that coming to fruition. And also the speed. I see buses speeding up, and they're going up Lexington, which isn't even the main route, which normally they're flying up Gale. They're flying up Lexington. You see them all over town racing, I think, just to get to the next route, which is concerning. Somebody is going to get hurt. And the number of bus accidents, while I've heard they are not any fault of the bus driver, for the most part, I'm very concerned of the number of accidents. I've been on the board for 4 years. I never heard of bus accidents that were reported to us. That's a problem, so.
Anyone else? I'll wrap it up. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to agree with I don't want to repeat everything that everybody said, but I do want to agree with everything that everybody said. I heard a lot in the beginning of the school year, because I live in one of the Noah Wallace neighborhoods, that it took probably a month to resolve that bus issue. But because of the unreliability, I do often drive my daughter, who's a junior here, to school. Like if she's got a first period test, I will drive her to make sure she's on time. And I shouldn't have to think about that. I don't think any parent should have to think about that. Same for after school. And as recently as, it was either Monday or Tuesday last week, she literally called me from outside and said, somebody just asked me, do you live in this neighborhood? And I said, yes. And she said, well, the bus is coming back. You're going to have to get on this bus to get home. And she called me. She said, can you get me? I've got to be somewhere. But I couldn't, and she was late. And then I'm looking through my emails to see if I got a communication, and I didn't. So, and I looked in my spam, and I said, did you get an email communication? She said, no. So I think things happen, drivers call out, or, that they're sick, or something happens with the bus, but there has to be communication too, because that could have been avoided. And I've heard many stories like that. To Erica's and James's point about testing the routes, we're going to have some redistricting with the elementary schools. So those are going to be new routes, and I anticipate that there could be some problems with that, so I'm also hoping that those routes get worked out this summer.
Thanks. I'll just wrap up. I mean, obviously, you guys know this is not directed at you guys. I hope you should know that, right? This is, you guys are the messengers, and you're kind of put in the difficult position of having to navigate angry parents and a unresponsive vendor. And I think that's what I want to make sure we don't lose sight of, is that we have a vendor who's really not fulfilling their contract. I can't say it any other way. Now, there's certain provisions in the contract that allow them, and we talked about this in September about, well, how can we hold them accountable? So, I'm not going to go so far as to say they're in breach of a contract, but they certainly are not fulfilling their promises. And what I would just ask that we all keep in mind, that they get this message, and I'm really kind of disappointed they're not here tonight, but what they have to understand is that one of the reasons we were celebrating Kathy is that she does such a great job of running our school district. And the board really comes to a place where we understand our roles and we don't feel a need to have these conversations, where we're now, the board itself is now micromanaging to some degree these complaints, and because now we're in the middle, we're following our rules, we're communicating that on to you guys, right? And then you guys are doing your job. To Angela's point, you have a partner here who's not doing anything other than really at this point lip service. I mean, they can say what they're doing and they can offer anecdotal evidence of how they're trying to improve things, but frankly, that doesn't work anymore. So I think the message they have to understand as they go into the summer is that our patience with them is over. They don't have any more room for error. I would say there's no margin for error at this point. That if we're having this conversation midway through next year, the lawyers may have to get involved at that point, because we did this with all the right intentions of making sure we had a new bus company that was a good partner, improving on prior services, and really kind of modernizing everything we were doing, and with all the right reasons. And here we are at the end of the school year with the exact same problems we had in September, really, the exact same problems, okay? Just maybe a little different flavor to them. At the end of the day, this vendor needs to understand that if they want to continue to be a partner with the town of Farmington, they have to do better. Period, full stop. That's all I really got to say. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate all the work. I know, and I've seen the emails that you guys are dealing with, and I know how hard you're working. And again, to Angela's point, you're being taken away from what we're paying you to do. You know what I mean? So thank you for that. All right, next.
I just would, I appreciate the board's care for our principals and our teachers and all of those, and our central office staff that have been challenged by the bus company. And it has been difficult when we're combining buses or we get a notice that things are going to be late. I just want to say with the overcrowding part, I do want to say at each school, if the bus was overcrowded so that children were standing or sitting, that bus wouldn't leave the school. I think there are other factors related to it, about students sharing seats and other things that we're dealing with ourselves, trying to help our students understand that yes, you do have to share a seat on a bus, and that is just part of riding a bus. And so we have dealt with some of those things. We don't want any child standing up or sitting in the aisle. And so that has been something that we've worked on. But I know, our principals know, that a bus cannot leave our schools overcrowded. There should be a seat for every child in our buses. It isn't pleasant to combine buses. I know that. And so that has been something with calls out and people that are sick. We often have to do that, which I would not want that to happen in the coming year. I don't want it happening right now. I think we agree with all of you on your expectations. We have the same expectations for the bus company. I do want to thank Dan and Matt, who are very busy with communication and problem solving. And I will say one other thing. We have had fender benders in the past with our old company too. That is unfortunately something that I do have to let all of you know when we have it. That typically 99.9% of the time it is not the drivers, the bus drivers. It's just there's a lot of traffic, and usually it's hitting the back of a bus or something like that can happen, or miscalculating maybe a turn and We've seen that too, stop signs, things like that. That would be the bus driver. But in any case, I agree with you, and I think that, we'll continue to set very clear expectations and communicate with our bus company. Our disappointment collectively, internally, our board's frustrations and our community's frustrations. We had very high hopes. I agree with you. I had very high hopes. But I am, again, a little bit of more hope with what I'm hearing about a contract them not going for a contract, which will mean they have more drivers for next year for us and for their existing contracts with Avon and Guilford and other school districts.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah.
Professional.
Yes, so there are 8 resignations and 1 leave on this report. All appointments during the hiring season, which is now, to fill vacancies will be included in a more extensive report in the fall. So although you see resignations, we are actively hiring for any vacancies right now, and you'll see that report in the fall like you do each year. And deeper learning, Aspire and Capstone projects, design thinking projects, music stewardship and deeper learning, integrated bird unit and stewardship associated with that, and a sensory night were all included in the deeper learning updates. And as always, take your time to look through these amazing updates that represent our work across all schools aligned to our vision of the global citizen.
Thank you. Okay, item 7 on our agenda, unfinished business, budget impact, budget update.
So just quick update, where we are right now. We'll talk a little bit for the April financials, but overall, things are looking good. We're still, I talked about the last meeting, still trying to work with Eversource. They're still untangling the whole thing. However, we've encumbered some money there just to be able to cover that piece of it, if that does come to fruition. So I don't think it'll have as we call it, like a material change. I think we'll be able to kind of manage that. And we have gotten our second excess cost payment that we received that. What we haven't gotten still is that $300,000 that when the legislature kind of added that $40 million for the state, we're still kind of waiting on that payment, but we still have, they send us a confirmation, kind of gave an update there, so we're still expecting to have that. So we're still, as we get through, really the discussion will kind of be where we'll have that. We're anticipating putting that into the non-lapsing account for the following year, but then looking to see if we have remaining balance, if we just want to put only that 300, I think it's like $309,000 there, or if there is additional surplus, do we just put the entire, so those are just kind of the discussions, to kind of have it detailed in there, but right now, like I said, we're moving in a good direction, making sure we're expending all of our grants, checking for major projects to see where we are and the timing of that, but overall, we're looking very good.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions? Okay. Next up, B, policy update, second reading.
So as you know, there were some questions asked at the last board meeting, and so I'll go over some answers to those questions. And Shipman and Goodwin had responded. They removed unnecessary references to Title IX of Education Amendments of 1972. Some references are still required because they reference the law itself. And they included expression where appropriate to reflect state law requirements. Related to the other policies, I put them down. Oh, if you go to the next one, sorry, the next slide. I put them down at the bottom. There were 3 additional policies that were implicated from the Title IX changes at the beginning of this school year. 1220, non-discrimination community, 5146, non-discrimination students, 5147, Section 504 of Rehabilitation Act of 1973, and Title II of Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. They are not currently recommending any changes to these model policies or regulations in either the student, community, or personnel series in light of the recent court ruling vacating the Title IX 2024 regulations. This is because only Title IX related change to the non-discrimination policies concern the appeals process, and to make all the policies align, Shipman believes that the revised appeals process is preferable, so there's no need to change. It's simply because the Title IX federal regulations were vacated. In addition, removing references to Title IX from the titles of the policies and regulations, given that policies and regulations also cover Connecticut law as well as Title IX, that occurred. They clarified the protections related to gender identity or expression and sexual orientation are based on Connecticut law and in the employment context, Title VII. Updating the location of the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights, where individuals may file complaints, given that the Boston office has been closed. Added references to potential use of a third-party contractor to conduct investigations, and note that the regulations already reference this possibility of the use of a third-party contractor to serve as decision maker, but this is also to conduct the actual investigation. So those are the updates from and the responses to the questions from the last board meeting.
Sorry, can I- oh.
Angela?
Thank you for the responses, Kathy. So my question, I'm fine with the ones we're voting on today. So those are the ones that, why we have Title IX or not. I'm still not 100%, the Section 504 ADA, which you just were mentioning, and, you said in the weekend update, what you just said, the revised appeal process is preferable, so there's no need to change it. I mean, I don't know if there's an opportunity to just, again, not part of today, but and maybe this is more of a policy question, because I felt like when we voted on those, it was based on the executive order, and it's hard for me to see exactly what we're saying the changes were and were not. I didn't look at the markup completely, and then I thought there were still changes based on the executive order, I guess I'm saying.
Yeah.
I know you're saying that some of them were not, I think you were just saying, but.
Yeah, so the appeals process is very similar in both the 2020 and the 2024, meaning that the complainant and the respondent can both appeal the decision of the decision maker. And then that requires another decision maker to review the case and respond. So there's not a lot of differences from the two appeals process from the 2020 to the 2024. I will say that they are going to review everything this summer, as they always do, and there may be additional changes in the fall, but at this point, they feel that that is not needed at this point. Could it be in the fall that after a summer of reviewing all the legislative changes, which seem extensive so far, as I'm looking at updates from the session, they will be reviewing even the ones that we're approving tonight. They're going to re-review all of it. So.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Again, it's not a comment on anything we're voting on tonight, so I'll just bring this about this
Yes.
reviewed again at a later time.
Thank you.
I think it might be a good idea, Kathy, to have maybe an agenda item, or I don't know if it's executive session, maybe in the fall, where Tom or someone could come and kind of give us a little primer on how, how Title IX is working under the new regime, so to speak, and the interplay between the new federal rules with current state law, which I think there might be some conflict in certain respects. So yeah, I think it might not be a bad idea for us to have an understanding of that, but in the fall, I mean, like an executive session kind of thing or something.
So, so I'm sorry, and this could just be it takes me a couple times of reading something to really clearly understand. So other policies that were revised due to 2024 Title IX updates that do not require updates, even with reverting back to 2020. I guess that.
Because that's what I just said, that those three policies were updated in the fall related to the 2024 Title IX updates. So there was a question asked, wow, we did more than just the two policies up there, the 4118.1 and the 5145.5, what happened to those? So I went to Shipman and I luckily had these charts that I could give. And I said, well, what about the 1220 and the 5146 and the 5147? And that's when they responded, we're not recommending any changes because there was nothing substantial in there about the Title IX changes except the appeals process. And because it's so similar, they're not updating those. But they're going to continue to review them as they go forward.
So, so a comment, and again, I do look forward to what Bill just recommended about having whether it be another session, tutorial, whatever, maybe more further discussion about how the changes to Title IX from the 2024 back to the 2020, or with this current administration, I get it, I don't want to get into all the politics around it, but it is politics. It's a better understanding about that. I do agree with that. I guess for me, and I'll just be public about this and want it on public record, just because I'm still struggling to understand, that, and fully understand all of this and how it, where things are landing. I will always, I am very aware that our district protects our students and our staff. Very aware of that. I am very aware that we strive to create an environment that is inclusive, and we heard a lot of our students today say that, which is just something to be so proud of. We should all be very proud of. Inclusive and open environment, and we push forward to create a culture like that and an environment like that, and I just think it's wonderful, and you can see it in our students. But I will be abstaining from this vote today, and it's ironic, it's the start of Pride Month, and I think there's things here, though we may not feel comfortable in saying certain things, and I'm not going to make this too politicized, but it is a step backwards, even though it's still back to 2020. We know we could do better. We were doing better. So I will be abstaining from this vote, and maybe when it comes back again in some revisions, I will change my mind. But I think that, our policies do reflect what we intend to do. And so until I have a better understanding, I will just be abstaining.
Thank you for that, Erica. Anybody else, comments, questions? Can I get a motion to approve the policy updates listed below for a second reading as presented? 4118.1 and 41181A, prohibition of sex discrimination, including sex-based harassment personnel. 5145.5, prohibition of sex discrimination, including sex-based harassment students. 5111 and 511A, admission of tuition-free students.
Motion?
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstention just on the two, the 4118.1 and 41181A, and I approve the 5145.5.
Yep.
But I do support the 511 and 511A.
Thank you. Okay, motion carries. Okay, next up is new course approval. Second reading.
So this is just a second reading. You heard from Eric Martin the last time, so this is with a motion today.
Or Tom, as I called him. My mistake.
Remember that?
Can I get a motion to approve the second reading of the new courses as presented to be implemented in the 2025-26 calendar school year?
Motion?
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next up, item 8, new business, A, cafeteria contract renewal. Kathy?
So Dan?
Yeah, happy to take it. So we have a current contract, 5-year contract with Chartwells. We are approaching, I believe this is now year 3 of the contract. So each year we renegotiate both the, what's called the management fee and an admin fee, both that are there. In the first year of the contract, there was a 0% management and then 2.75 for the admin fee. In this past year, also, there was a 0% management and a 2.5% admin. And then this year, the negotiated rate is at 0%, again, 0% management, and actually a 2.2 on the admin, so we're actually going down by 0.3. And so the state of Connecticut actually has some guidelines on the negotiation with them. And so they use the consumer price index as kind of the baseline for that piece of it. Last year, the consumer price index was at 4.6. This year, the consumer price index was at 3.8. So the state actually says the CPI is the maximum you can set it. So 3.8 would have been the top layer on there. So once again, when we worked through there, we agreed to 0% management again, but then lowered as the cost price index the consumer price index went down, it seemed to make sense that, overall the admin fee should also go down, thus bringing it there. It's also important to note that with the Chartwells, we have a guaranteed return of $36,368. Someone seems to like the 36s in there. Have each year of the contract, we have met or exceeded that. We're already actually at this point, even through April financials, have already met that mark and exceeded that mark. And that money actually goes, this kind of state of Connecticut holds it, and we're expected to bring that money down, and we can use that for enhancements for our cafeteria program. And so that's a specific use of using that money. So we can use that for upgrading kitchen equipment, serving lines, cafeteria tables. We can kind of paint the cafeteria as long as it utilizes for improvements for the cafeteria program. But what that does do, which helps us out, is it takes some pressure off major projects, capital improvements, because once again, those areas are kind of being covered through this, the cafeteria fund that we have there. So. So we'll have a action anticipated for you guys to agree. If you motion to pass it, then we submit to the state of Connecticut, and we have that approved for the 25-26 school year. Happy to take any questions.
I just have a question. The 2.2% increase, who is that passed on to? Is that just like we're paying that, or is that like you're saying what is exactly?
Yeah, so that's the
increasing?
fees that they charge us monthly for, the overall operation of the food services.
Okay. Okay.
Anybody else? Can I get a motion to approve amendment number 1 dated June 2nd, 2025 as presented? Amendment number 1 sets the management and administrative fee of the 2025-2026 school year. In management fees, there will be a 0% increase, and in administrative fees, there will be a 2.2% increase.
Motion?
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're going to move executive session to the end of the meeting. That way we get through the rest of it, and then people can go home. Okay, so next item up would be report of committee chairs. Consideration of financial report. Sorry, Dan. Approval of the April 2025 financial statement. Sorry.
Before we go into detail there, I just want to kind of give one kind of a clarification. If you'll see on on the fourth page there, the self-insurance analysis tab that's kind of highlighted there. Below on the second last page. In doing our reviews, as we kind of talk about a lot of times, we see anticipated versus actuals. And so our finance, Beth was reviewing that with the staff, and something seemed a little bit off. And so we recognized that in the tab there, in the actual costs column, there clerically they had pulled from if you look at the page before, it's kind of like the one you need your reading glasses for the smaller print. They were pulling from the paid claims column. I'm sorry, that's where they should have been taking it from, but they were taking it from the total costs column. The difference between those two is the total cost column actually takes in when any staff employee adds to their HSA, if they want to add beyond it, they add it, it gets in there, but then afterwards it kind of gets pulled back out. So it kind of just, gets washed in and out from that column. So it's really, that money isn't kind of reflected accurately. So it should just kind of from the paid claims, which are strictly just the paid claims in there. So the columns that you see there in that self-insurance analysis tab is accurate. However, if you were to now go into prior months, that column, the numbers would be different. So at any point, if you said, wait a minute, these numbers look a bit different, that was, like I said, a clerical error that was determined and adjusted. From the reporting side, obviously there was a numerical difference, but it's not, like I said, when we talk about budget impact, budget update, it doesn't have any kind of material. It's, the insurance reserve is still in a healthy place. Our claims are, they're actually landing really right kind of where they anticipated and budgeted for it. So kind of, landing right there. So anything there. So just, like I said, I just want to kind of, I guess for lack of a better word, self-report the error on that piece of it, but it has since been corrected on there. Overall for the April financials, let me just kind of pull up from there. Like I said, we're still trending, very well across most of the line items. What you'll see is on, once again, we did get our second payment for excess costs, and so now you're seeing us, what we're doing is we're calling applying those to those areas. So once again, where you see areas where, public school or private school tuition, transportation, some of those areas, we start applying those excess costs, because as you remember, anytime the costs exceed 4.5 times per pupil expenditure, the state, gives us back, kind of the money, at the percentage there. So we are, but once again, you'll see kind of where we've projected, where we've applied some of those revenues. But like I said, for the most part, everything is, coming along, and no kind of, like I said, nothing major to kind of report as far as that. Just, looking at our encumbrances, and now at the end of the year, we're kind of looking to see, where the expected and where the, pieces are, and making those adjustments. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, no questions, Dan. Good job. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the April 2025 financial statement as presented?
Motion?
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, next up will be report of committee chairs. Personnel?
We are working to finalize dates for FBA this summer.
Good luck with that. Policy, Beth.
Nothing to report on policy.
Curriculum?
We met on April 28th, and most of our agenda items were covered in the last board meeting. The only other thing that we talked about is AI committee work that's being done. The committee's working on establishing guiding principles for the use of AI in grades 5 through 12, creating expectations for student use of AI, expectations for staff. So it's a work in progress, but I know Erica had some comments how Farmington is ahead of the
state.
ahead of the state in the work that's being done.
Yeah.
That's right, I'm sure the state will come up with some guidelines after we've got it all sorted out, and tell us tell us how to do it.
Exactly.
Thank you. Communications, Beth?
Yes, so the Communications Committee met last Wednesday. We talked about topics and contents for this summer's community newsletter. And that newsletter usually hits mailboxes during the summer in July, I believe. Just, as you can see today, lots of good news looking back at the end of the school year and updates to share with our community. I don't know if you wanted to say anything more specifically about the newsletter.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a lot of nice topics that we've thought about, the committee itself, and then the actual principals pick the deeper learning updates or other updates that might even not have been in there, but they're really proud of to build that. But we were thinking a feature on the central office opening, which is coming up. When are we getting the TCO or this?
It should be, I think we're just waiting from the building official to kind
Oh,
of,
okay.
stamp it. but
So
I
that's
think
coming
it's-
up, and we have Dan and Matt have a whole plan of moving us to the new space,
We
which
love
is
our
really
spreadsheets.
exciting. It'll look beautiful. And there were several other items that we talked about just to feature, where our students are going to college or military or going into a trade, that type of thing, and celebrating the class of 2025, as well as the award recipients tonight always get a special feature on the front page. So those are the things I remember from our discussion.
Yep.
But Dee has a whole list, and she's working on that right now.
Okay, report of committee liaisons, correct? No report. Extended learning? Sylvia?
No report at this time.
Scholastic, interscholastic advisory?
I have no report, but I haven't received any kind of date.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Russ and just see, because we should have an end of year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I think things are still happening, though, like we're still
Yeah.
in this season, so.
Public School Foundation, James?
Yeah, the board of the FPSF met on May 21st. I unfortunately was out of town and was unable to attend, but it was the grant proposal discussion and meeting. A couple of really, really great proposals that I believe are going to be funded. There's some discussion going on with some of the remaining proposals, some questions back and forth with the board members and the people that came up with the proposals. So still a little bit more to come, but some really, really great proposals being funded, projects.
Thanks, James. Health and Wellness, Angela?
There was a meeting in May. I had a conflict. I was not able to attend, but Veronica has been so kind to give us an update as she was there. So,
Which I found out about like maybe a minute ago. From what I recall, what we talked about was a lot of our work this year has been in policy 5140. There is a triennial assessment that happens that measures how well our policy and our implementation of model school wellness policies, like how well our program is following those. So we're in the middle of that review now. So a lot of the time at that committee is talking about what those questions are and how we're doing on both policy and on implementation of wellness practices. This past meeting, there was a lot of attention given on nutrition, both on nutrition education and what would be some steps forward there, but also nutrition in the foods that our children are eating. And there was a little discussion about the amount of sugar in different, in the foods that they eat. And so what was really emphasized there was how Angela really works closely with Joe and the nutrition services to
not
work
me.
on that.
So the
Oh, sorry,
yeah,
Angela.
there's another.
Sorry. Angela Vassar, who's the head of our, who is
Driving
the
school
head of
buses.
for a health education department chair. And then there were a lot of compliments. It's composed of the committee members are composed of parents as well. So there were a lot of compliments on the great progress we've made on screen time with the new policy implementation of not having the devices during class, and that we're using the hotels. So a couple of good updates there. Oh, and you'll actually see this report is a duty of the board to put out every 3 years. So that'll be in an upcoming meeting at some point in order to review what those results were and next steps.
I think Veronica's giving my updates moving forward. I mean, that was very good. Thanks, Veronica.
Cafeteria, Nadine?
So a meeting was held earlier this evening, so I think part of it obviously was the contract renewal, and then anything else to add?
Carrie, who's one of the managers there at Chartwell, loved doing the presentation, sharing all the specials, of the months and all the different celebrations that they do and highlighting that. So she kind of just, quickly, went over those pieces to it, but, nothing, kind of like no major topics with it.
Okay. Green efforts, Marty?
The town cleanup was successful, even though it rained again this year.
It goes every year.
There were 40 participants, and they collected over 1,600 pounds of garbage and trash.
Nice.
That's fantastic. Community Council of Equity and Inclusion, Erica.
Yeah, so I unfortunately also had a conflict and could not attend, but I do know that they had their last meeting, and it was in person at IER, but I'm not quite sure what else. Yeah.
Thank you. Building Committee, Bethy.
Yep, so the building committee last met on May 21st. Updates were that the final punch list items for the FHS building will be completed this summer. As we're hearing, central office is nearly complete, just waiting on that certificate of occupancy, and punch list items, obviously. And I figured you would have more details about the schedule for moving in, but I'm hearing spring into summer, depending on staff.
I mean, we'll be totally moved in.
Yeah,
Right,
I mean,
by-
barring anything unforeseen, I think we're fully in by July 1st. We're starting actually right now, once kind of school gets out, like I said, we love our spreadsheet, so we have this rolling thing where, 2 or 3 staff members are gonna go there because we kind of need to kick them out, so then we can take apart their furniture and get it for the next wave of
yes.
people. So like I said, we have this kind of nice little
Logistics.
plan and go in there, but we're, like I said, if all things go well, with all the various moving pieces, we're hoping July 1st, the whole team is there and running through the summer.
Nice.
My
Great
date
space.
is June 16th.
Oh, okay.
That I move up.
Yes, lots of logistics going on, very exact.
Date the spreadsheet.
What column are you?
It's fun
And-
telling Kathy, like, here's your moving
Move the
day.
day.
Andrea, Superintendent Search.
So we've been engaged in the search for a new superintendent since February. And as of today, our search is not over, it's not complete yet. And Bill will have some more remarks in his chair report about next steps. But I do want to publicly thank everybody for their hard work, their dedication, and their flexibility throughout this process. Your time, your insight, and your commitment has been invaluable and deeply appreciated.
Thank you, Andrea. And I could just say, I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of the board when we thank you for your leadership. You worked extremely hard. You put in extraordinary hours. You were, like Murder, She Wrote, Angela Lansbury, digging in, investigating, researching, and then coming back with really good information for us. And it was a pleasure to watch you lead us. And I feel like the process was run really well, and that's all credit to you. You're welcome. So the report of the board chair, a couple things. First, just a reminder, IAR promotion is on June 11th at 5 p.m. at FHS, and Erica will be representing us at the IAR promotion. Thank you, Erica. It's a fun night. And then, of course, the night before FHS on June 10th at 6 p.m. is our high school graduation. Please be here. If you're coming, be here between 5 and 5:15. It says here no later than 5:30. I'm not going to say that. 5:15. Meeting in the conference room in the administrative ring where we always meet. We'll meet there. Okay? A couple other things. So, as Andrea said, we have come to the end of well, I would say at the end. We have reached a point in the selection process of a new superintendent where we think it's a good idea to give an update to the community and to let people know kind of where things are. And Andrea is correct, we have not yet filled the position. And I just would want to say that Farmington is an exceptional school district with outstanding faculty, staff, administrators, students, and families. Since beginning the search process, the Board of Education has taken the process seriously, ensuring confidentiality, thoroughness in vetting candidates, and high expectation in identifying who our next superintendent would be. We wanted to ensure we find not only a candidate that meets the expectations of the Farmington community, but also a candidate with the qualifications required in Connecticut and in Farmington to be our next superintendent. To that end, we have not yet identified a candidate that meets that criteria for our community and that the Board of Education has set. To ensure continuity of improvement and excellence within the Farmington Public Schools, Our current superintendent, Kathy Greeter, has agreed to remain as interim superintendent until the time we select and appoint a superintendent and that individual begins their work in our school district. We thank Kathy for her willingness to remain on until the new superintendent can start. So thank you, Kathy. And I would also like to add, even though you're staying on, you are retired. So let's be clear.
Yes, everyone, yes.
And the board, you know, we've expressed all of our feelings of our gratitude and all that you've done. You know, we could spit here all night, and we've said so much. But there's one thing that the board does want you to be aware of and what we are going to do. There's a new, there's the new office of, central office, and there's I guess I understand, a conference room, library for professional development, and a space for learning for educators. And we've heard throughout the expressions of gratitude to you was your appreciation and your focus on developing teachers, developing educational professionals. And so we know how important that is, and you really made it a big hallmark of your time here. So I'm happy to announce that once the new building is open, that room is going to be defined or called the Kathleen C. Greeter Professional Learning Commons. There'll be a plaque put up with your name, recognizing that. So your name will be attached to professional development in the town of Farmington in perpetuity.
Oh, thank you so much. That means the world to me. Oh, my goodness. I wish my parents were with us so I could bring them up there. They'd be incredibly proud. But my family will be so proud. And honestly, it's just such an honor and privilege. And thank you so much for thinking of me in that way. Okay, now I'll start to cry.
Our pleasure.
I
Thank
held
you.
it together for as long as I could. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, the only other thing I'd say is we had a very, very challenging year. We did a lot of work, a lot of work. I feel like our board came together this year in a way that, we're kind of feeling each other out at the end of last year. I think we've developed a rhythm this year, and I want to thank each and every one of you for being willing to learn and grow and listen and just be a good partner in this process. I think we, as a Board of Education, and I've learned throughout this, we've set an example, I think, for other towns as to how to do it the right way. We have strong opinions, and we don't agree on everything. But I'm grateful that each and every one of you has come to these meetings willing to work together, willing to listen, willing to compromise, and that makes this Board of Education what it is. And we saw that tonight when we saw those kids, both from kindergarten to the valedictorian. We saw that tonight.
Yeah.
And that's a reflection of our work. And it may not feel like that, but I can tell you after 16 years, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And so I appreciate you placing your trust in me as your chair again this year. And I wish you all a very happy summer. And I look forward to seeing you all in the fall. So with that being said, we are now going to move into executive session. I need to move to executive session at 9:33 for the discussion of the school resource officer report, which would result in disclosure of public records or information contained therein described in subsection B of section 1-210, student records. And that attendance of the executive session shall be limited to members of the Board of Education, the superintendent of school, and the assistant superintendent. Need a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are now in executive session at 9:33. Okay, need a motion to return to public session at 9:41.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're back in regular session. Okay, just one more, I'll add to the report of the board chair. Given that Kathy is going to stay on, we do need to have a special meeting. Going to propose Tuesday, June 17th. Again, we just need a quorum, so if you can't make it, that's okay. We just need 5 of us to approve the addendum.
What time?
I'm thinking, I would like to do like maybe 5:36, but I can make it 7 if it's more convenient. 5:30? 5:30 on the 17th?
I'm away.
Yeah,
That's
I don't,
okay. Like I said,
Do we have 5 people
I don't
that
know
can
if
do
I
it?
can make that date.
That's okay.
I can do it.
Who could do it? 1, 2, 3, Okay, we got 6.
All right.
We're good.
All right.
And James is checking. Okay.
5:30, I don't want to get this wrong.
5:30? Yep. I'll have-
17
at
on the 17th,
5:30.
right?
5:30, do it 5:30.
Game
Do it 5:30.
All right.
I'll have,
17th at 5:30.
Yes.
yep, I'll have Dee send out a notice.
I'm good.
We're here.
Oh, you can do it too, James?
I should be able to do
Well, it would, if I move it to 6, would that be better?
it. Perfect.
Okay, let's make it at 6.
That works.
6:17 at 6 PM.
Leave it as-
Okay, and with that, we are adjourned.